NetGain and Cloud Computing by Group 4. NetGain provides cloud computing to healthcare organizations. This presentation will discuss the relevant technologies used to accomplish this, a general description of the system development process, and an assessment and recommendations that examines how this service performs when implemented. NetGain provides multi-tiered IT services for healthcare facilities in a client-server network. These services vary according to specific needs of each customer. NetGain's platform has the same layers of hardware and services typical of cloud computing, with security measures necessary to keep data private and accessible to authorized users only. NetGain is a one-stop shop for healthcare providers who need to comply with Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act and other requirements. Various platforms are available and consist of Windows operating system and Microsoft applications, and hardware which may include Microsoft SQL, Microsoft Exchange, Microsoft Active Directory, and sometimes Microsoft Front Page. It depends on the end user. A client-server network is a model for applications in which the bulk of back-end processing, such as performing a physical search of a database, takes place on a server, while the front-end processing, which involves communicating with the users, is handled by the clients. Think of components for cloud computing as layers in a pyramid. Consolidated hardware is the base, which is used to reduce waste of power, cooling, and space by managing underlying components. Virtualization is the next tier, configured to maximize hardware use while maintaining optimal access to applications. Next, there is an automation and monitoring tier, which monitors and troubleshoots the overall process. At the top of the pyramid is the provisioning portal, which provides IT professionals and end users with access to new applications, systems that are no longer active, and the capability to change a single tool by adding or deleting it. These steps can sometimes be completed automatically. Security is essential for all four levels. NetGain has 4 different ways that they back up data or create redundancies in their systems. Those 4 types of ways that they back up data are through the use of snapshots that happen at set times throughout the day. They clone, copy, synchronize replications, and disk mirroring, all at set intervals. While they use those 4 types of ways to back up data, the one method that they utilize the most is taking snapshots throughout the day to protect against failures, crashes, and disasters, natural and otherwise. The application architecture for NetGain is client-server based and multi-tiered. The customer's current process is analyzed to determine the software that the end user is using and their email database, application database, and internal terminal server that they use to see if they're utilizing the software that could work for them. The requirements for NetGain's eHealth architecture is proprietary information, but is probably server-oriented architecture. eHealth solutions need to provide information on health networks that deal with everything from within the organization to several government agencies. The requirements for the data being backed up are handled using retention and select retention periods, as well as audit, tests, and test restores. Reporting of the automatic backups and the software monitoring are also part of this process. This is not part of NetGain's information system because it provides each customer with a unique environment. As far as a network communication, customers use a storage area network via Internet Small Computer System interface. This is done by using cable internet, DSL, or a dedicated line. This centralized internet uses internet and firewall. Also, the hardware is thoroughly reviewed and encryption is done between NetGain and their customer. Microsoft certification and/or multiple years of experience or training are needed to work with most NetGain applications, which can be done through college courses, certification, and through experience. Asset tags are used for identification and tracking of the hardware. A list of software licenses are also maintained for each customer. One major issue NetGain deals with is figuring out the number of people for each terminal server. The amount of data each person uses will also affect the size of the server and how that will affect the performance. The performance monitoring software tells NetGain staff when those numbers are not where they are supposed to be. This is the technology that NetGain provides to give healthcare businesses a secure and private cloud. It's hard to believe, but some medical facilities are still using paper and pen to keep track of your medical history. NetGain helps healthcare facilities move into the 21st century by offering secure, high-tech solutions for the transition to electronic medical records without the cost of employing an IT department or the hassle of developing software. NetGain does not develop or acquire applications. Instead, they offer software as a service as well as infrastructure as a service. And desktop hosting, NetGain is a liaison between software providers and healthcare facilities, and they offer a secure environment for electronic health records to be processed and stored. Customers connect with NetGain at trade shows, sales meetings with clients, and other healthcare providers. Usually, a potential client will approach NetGain to find out how they can help cut down on IT costs. NetGain does have a pre-bundled package for customers, and there is often customizations depending on the needs of the customer. Service agreements are based upon uptime and other services NetGain offers. NetGain's basic standards for secure access to its servers are vulnerability scan and report, in which all servers are scanned by a vulnerability scanner on a regular basis. This ensures that servers are secure by applying current software updates and best practices for users' accounts. Group membership audit, which means that NetGain audits user groups and permission, highlighting risks in groups like administrative groups with unnecessary permission. Password policy adherence. NetGain recommends that passwords expire at 90 days. That passwords are complex and a minimum length of 8 characters, and the password that a history of 30 days is maintained. NetGain does not deal with programming. However, the development process must adhere to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act standards. An analysis of the customer's needs is performed by NetGain, which examines their current environment and what level of service is desired. These results are used to offer a price and a contract which the customer decides to accept or decline. NetGain's agreements are based upon uptime and various other services that are offered, such as desktop hosting and utility computing. In the utility computing model, you pay for only the resources you need, rather than the traditional model where businesses buy hardware, storage, and applications up front. The pre-installation training is done, and the software company is responsible for providing these trainers to end users as well as the installers. The compatibility with Windows terminal services and virtualizations are criteria that is examined for an application. The deployment team writes the criteria. Sometimes the application is not accepted due to times where it will not fit in the cloud environment, which means it would run locally instead of in the cloud. The implementation of this application is managed by IT, the user, and the vendor, which all have a role in this process. They have meetings often to ensure that everyone is on the same page. The additional testing that is done during the implementation process includes network testing, database testing, user testing, system testing, stress testing, and acceptance testing. They do not have a test script, but do work with the vendors of the software. There is a development environment for the testing, which is a separate deployment activity from running live. The servers are separated and placed in different environments to do the testing. Once they pass the testing, they are then rolled into the live environment. The test users would consist mainly of a few select users who are familiar with the process being tested. NetGain gives them access to the test environment and has them try to find issues that need to be fixed. Systems are communicated with the vendors, and then the end users are able to test the systems to ensure acceptance is accomplished. The application is successful when the test users and the manager of the company gives their approval. Backups are made for all data and servers, which are copied to a disk to tape or virtual snapshots of volume shadow copies for Microsoft. There are many redundant systems to back up all the data and servers. Operators have many ways to train for the new system, which include on-site, remote, over the phone, and with written documentation. The training that is provided involves connecting into the environment. Usually there is an expert on site that will do more in-depth training. Software support is available to help train as well. The systems operation team for NetGain is responsible for and dedicated to system maintenance. NetGain is the liaison between customer and the software provider. The vendor contacts NetGain if a fix is needed on the application, and NetGain would then install a patch or fix it. A request for a change is handled by selected users that are authorized to make these changes. However, if something is requested, then researched, then the required change gets escalated to a team leader who determines if the change is appropriate or beneficial to both organizations involved. The databases are protected by logs and audit trails maintained by NetGain. The application users need to be identified completely before access is granted. This application also has everything backed up and many redundant systems to ensure that all data and records can be securely accessed as needed. NetGain is a company which provides a one-stop shop for customers, making it easier and cheaper to store data off-site or outsource their IT completely. When customers purchase NetGain services, they get a virtualized system which maximizes storage utilization using reduplication, automates disaster recovery, allows for scalability and quick provisioning of additional storage, meets low recovery time objective, increases reliability, and reduces the risk of data loss. Best of all, it is Health Insurance, Profitability, and Accessibility Act compliant. NetGains offer utility computing to their customers, which means that the customer pays only for what they use, not what they might need in the worst case scenario. The cost of the projects mainly consists of the time put into the maintenance and setting up the project. It also includes the equipment that is needed to ensure everything runs accurately. NetGain recovers these costs from their customers through variable monthly charges. The customer benefits exceed the cost to implement these projects. Whether it's offsite storage or desktop hosting, NetGain saves the customers money by allowing them to purchase only the virtualized server and storage capabilities that they use. NetGain's customers have an advantage because there is no need to purchase the expensive equipment needed for this technology. Since no equipment is bought, there is no maintenance needed to be kept as well. Smaller health organizations in particular can get better access to services and information that can lead to improved outcomes, fewer errors, and increased cost savings. There are also federal monies available to help organizations go digital. If results don't meet the customer's expectation, NetGains works with them until their expectations are met. As Brent, a system analyst with NetGain, has observed over many deployments, at no point everything will go perfectly right in the deployment process. There are always lessons learned and changes made on the fly. NetGain continues to please customers and attract new ones by always trying to do things faster, cheaper, and better.